Hello, and welcome to Cannabis Marketing Live, all puff, no fluff. I'm your host, Kendra Losi, and I am really excited about today's guest. There's just so much data and information about consumers and cannabis consumers that we are just not able to get our hands on. And there's a lot of different ways that we can do that to truly understand our customers, their behaviors, their patterns, and what they do. So that is what our guest is here to talk about today. Our guest today is Brad Basar, and I forgot to ask him how to pronounce that. One of the most important questions. We got everything else set up, and I forgot to ask how to pronounce his last name. But
we say Basar, but
okay.
Basar's fine.
Thank you.
You can imagine.
Thank you, Brad Basar, here from Leaf Trader. Welcome, Brad. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Great. Absolutely. You guys, Brad is a wealth of knowledge on cannabis industry as well as throughout his background. I really wanted to have him be able to tell you a little bit about how his journey and how he got to the cannabis industry and how he started Leaf Traders. So can you tell us a little bit about you, Brad?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been around cannabis my whole life. My first 8 years were in the music business, so was well versed in cannabis, and I knew it wasn't dangerous and I enjoyed it, but I didn't know why I enjoyed it or the things that it did for me. And in 2013, my family moved back to Michigan. And so we had medical marijuana laws, and we jumped right in, became a caregiver. And so I was growing plants for patients. And that really allowed us to really start learning about the plant. And the more I learned about the plant and the more I learned about, how far away we've gotten from the truth about the plant, it just really created a passion in me. And then there's so many elements of the industry that, there's this communal success environment. If you're in the business, you almost have to be an advocate of the plant. Just a ton of innovation coming out from everywhere and ways to work around all these hurdles we have to deal with. It's just such an exciting industry that I said, well, I think I've found my home. I'd worked across 11 industries, and I could say finally, in my 40s, I've finally found my home and know what I want to do. So that's all been good. In 2017, we started Leaf Traders, and basically started Leaf Traders with three mission keywords: advocacy, community, and technology. And then started trying to figure out, what are some good tools that the straight business world takes for granted, but the cannabis industry is lacking in. And that's kind of how we started our research and testing for the first 2.5 years. We finally found a couple of niches that really needed somebody to come in and help them. Number one was qualitative data. We've got BDSA and we've got Headset, which are doing awesome data from POS systems for the most part, but there was really a lack of qualitative data. And then secondly, the whole Insight community platform, which we'll talk about, it just had not entered into the cannabis industry yet, and yet it's so widely used across the world. So that's kind of how we got from A to B.
That's a great story. It's amazing to me how many people, like the cannabis community is so amazing to me in terms of when I look at other communities, from tech to higher education to all the different industries I've worked with. I think that's one thing about all of us here, that it's just, the community is astounding, like absolutely astounding.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to work in, for sure.
Absolutely.
But it's a fight. We've got to keep that focus, on that communal success and advocacy, because obviously things change and mature. But I think we've got a real shot of keeping that within our industry if we can.
Agree.
But it's a fight.
Yeah, it is a fight, especially as there's so many people jumping in that don't necessarily have the same values as a lot of us that have been in it for a while. You mentioned ICPs. Can you tell us what that is?
So it's an Insight community platform. The concept's been around for about 20 years. When they started, it was really, the technology could really only offer like a forum setting online. as technology has improved and all these new tools are available, it's almost now a platform that is really limited to your imagination on what you want to use it for. About 70% of large companies across the world are now utilizing these. In 2016, they did a study of market researchers, and over 61% were all utilizing online communities. So it's a really a mainstream tool. Now, to define it, again, it could be a lot of different things, but the main key to really being an insight community is that it's typically a private community, invite only. It's typically going to be your customers that have gone out and purchased your brand, and now you have their email and you've invited them in, and now they're part of this almost digital focus group that can be available, to you at any time for anything you can imagine, whether it be product research, marketing, product development, ideation. You've got a set group of people that can fully engage with whoever you set up as your community manager. And as an entrepreneur, the thought of having that hey, I don't know which flavor to go to next. Well, I've got 200 people here that will tell me. So a lot of people have now started using this. Started as a market research tool, but a lot of people have started using these now as a way to develop products, a way to make business operation decisions, and then of course also market research.
So, and who wouldn't want a group of people that are going to give you their honest opinion in order to make those
Right.
types of business decisions? Absolutely. Like any business wants that. What do you,
Absolutely.
so how does it differ? Because I want to set the baseline here. So how does it differ from like a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group?
The difference is that you, or the community manager that runs the site, you are in charge of that site. You're not limited by a structure of a social network. So it can be considered social, but utilizing tools in a different way than a typical social network. You're not there to make buddies and share your most recent cooking recipe, but there's, like, Lego has one of the most phenomenal insight communities I've ever seen, and they run actual contests where individuals will come up and post their builds, and I've got a 5-year-old, so I'm into Lego at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my excuse, right? So
My
individuals will come
5-year-old.
up and right. Some of these builds that they take pictures of, the members of the community vote on it, and it could actually move into production at Lego. So they're utilizing their customers to actually generate new products that they can produce. So I'm sure I segued there a bit, but though there are social components, the tools that are built behind an insight community help you engage with customers in a different way than a social network would.
Okay. I love this. So now I have more questions. So
Okay.
does each company, so if there's different brands that decide to sign up and build out their insight community, do they have their own pool of people that join for them, or is it a larger pool of people than they can ask questions to, like a larger research group?
Well, now we're talking about how we differentiate the 1,000,001 insight community platforms that are out there. Now, there's still a lot of cannabis restrictions, even with those types of companies. And so obviously we're wide open to cannabis. That's what we're focused on. And hemp as well. But we call, cannabis the genius of both the sativa L hemp, right? And cannabis. So the difference is when, I could list several of them, but when you go out and you purchase one of these insight communities as a company, the large companies are building their own. A medium-sized company is going to go out and actually purchase one of these pre-built insight communities. They're very expensive to implement, and they're completely siloed. So you own your hosting of that single community. with cannabis being such an open, and we just talked about the communal success and the community getting behind businesses and getting behind those brands that they love, it opens us up to be able to actually create a community of communities. So it's still going to be a private setting where the community manager decides who can come in and participate, and they could, ask, well, what products have you bought of ours? All those types of questions to qualify. But they'll be trending with other insight communities of cannabis all on the same site. So in addition to the research and the marketing you can do with these insight communities, it also on our site can become a lead generation tool as well. If you're a trending community brand, people are going to want to be a part of you. So we are definitely taking the cannabis, community that exists out there and bringing it into this technology that in straight business, there's no way you would want to share anything with anyone. And then just so that we're covering all the bases, some of the larger brands that may be more protective of what they've built so far, we will be offering off-platform ICPs as well. So, I'd like to steer as many people to the on-site to keep that community vibe and see our trending, brands. But for bigger brands, they're going to want to spend a little bit more and have their siloed community.
That is awesome. So if you had a group, you could potentially ask them if they like your new branding or packaging. You could ask them if they like help understand how to find out insights in terms of the next product to launch.
And we've built it modular so that the modules will have their own tools. So if you want to strictly use it as a research tool, you'll get our research module. If you're more into building engagement and loyalty, or if you're using it more for product development, or all three, you can build out your insight community with the tools that you need, so you're not paying for things you don't.
Love it. So because not everyone is a market researcher, right? So
right.
If say I have a cannabis brand and I have a couple of flower different lines and I'm looking to launch pre-rolls or vape pens or, name a thing. How would I be able to, is there help in framing the questions? How do people know even how to start or what that looks like in order to get the results they want?
Absolutely. So we'll have a full service team as well. When we initially set up an IC, you'll get at least 2 to 4 hours of consulting just to help you get used to, okay, how does this work? How are we going to build it? Our initial 20 brands that we're going to choose when we launch the IC, they'll have a full year of full consulting. Our services will be based on either that initial consult, if you want ongoing consulting, or some people don't have somebody that they can designate as a community manager, so we'll offer a community manager full service as well.
Okay.
So we can cover all those bases.
Okay.
Because it takes commitment to really build, a good community where people are engaged. It takes work.
Absolutely. Which takes me to the next question, because you mentioned not just launching new products, but also creating loyalty and figuring out how to get that loyalty engagement with your customers. How can an ICP, Insight Community Platform, for those of you that might be joining now, how can those help you create loyalty and engagement with your customers?
The statistics out there, and it's nice because this concept's been around 20 years. There's a lot of data on ROI and different ways that they've been used and different avenues that have saved companies. In 2018, U of M did a study, and they came down to the results that, and where I actually wrote that down somewhere here.
Perfect. You came prepared with data.
19%. Oh, yeah, because there's so many stats out there. But 19%, the customers that were engaged on an ICP platform averaged spending 19% more at that company. There's a whole psychological study about when a brand actually engages with the consumer. So not a loyalty program where, I got my card punched today, but actually engaging with that consumer. possibly doing ideation, getting them to feel, boy, I love this brand, and now I'm actually helping this brand with new products coming out. That type of engagement with a company creates loyalty that just can't be compared with any other platform. And that is why so many companies are now turning to these insight communities, because there's just no better way to engage, especially during COVID. I just saw another stat today that they did a study of 12 brand communities from January to April, and activity averaged, there were some that were like 200%, but it averaged 62% more activity in the last 4 months just because of COVID. So it is definitely the new way to engage, and now that technology has developed so far that we can do so many different types of tools, it is really a mainstream tool that every business should be utilizing.
I love this. So, and for some reason, I'm not as familiar with this, and I'm a little embarrassed that because I'm not as familiar with this as I should be. When I started marketing, it was for CRM companies, and one long time ago, one-to-one marketing and figuring out how to really target customers and figure out where they are in the journey and what communication needs to go to them across all channels. So, taking that, these platforms sound like they take that information that's just, data driven based on behavior and preferences and multiplies it by, 1,000 just because of the power of what you can get when you're using these types of platforms. Is that an accurate statement?
Absolutely. Yeah. And again, depending on how you want to use it, those tools now exist for you to really dive in to not only who your customer is, but what is their day-to-day even like. Some brand communities are doing video journals where consumers are posting videos about how they're using their product and day-to-day life, and I mean that is just incredibly valuable data for operations.
Absolutely. And then, so I have friends that do ethnographic research, right? So they go in and they companies contract them to figure out, to go in and actually sit in someone's house and watch how they use a product and talk to them about the specific products. And by the way, they have some phenomenal stories of doing this. But how does this work in tandem with that? Does that help replace that?
It could be. Well, with COVID out there, this almost replaces that, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
So you've got to get that data somewhere to really learn about your consumer. Now there's these digital platforms that can allow you to do that without, invading the privacy to the point you're sitting in their living room. Right?
Sitting in there, yeah. Mask on. One of them was a bathroom product, and you had to share people, sit in people's bathroom and look where they stored stuff. Anyway, side tangent, sorry. But I'm trying to figure out how the different pieces work together. So yeah, absolutely. I can see how having a digital platform where you can ask questions and those types of things and get that immediate response would be much more effective than having to send someone out to understand how, the physical. Now, granted, that's going to be more valuable information ultimately, but it's going to be a lot harder to find, especially right now in the day of masks and no one wanting strangers in their house for sure. What?
A program that a lot of these insight communities use, they call them super users. So if you've got your top 1% of engaged customers, you can then separate them out and actually take them onto new tasks to help you. And you can really dive in deep when you get a super user that's engaged with your brand. So the methodologies are certainly there. And in a digital world and in COVID, it's the safest, most non-intrusive way to get that same type of information in my book. So,
and it makes a lot of sense. I'm my brain's whirring around with all of the information and insights that you could get.
There's so many different tools that can be utilized in different ways. And again, in the beginning, these were, and really still today, the main people that really know about ICs are market researchers. Mm-hmm. But there are so many additional ways you can utilize that to really build a brand and not just do, consumer research.
I love it. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about more is how to approach loyalty engagement in, in this decade with everything changing so quickly. How is that looking now? Because there's, people are worried about privacy, people are worried about everything, but yet they still want to engage with the companies that they believe in.
And that kind of segues from what we were talking about, where in fact there was another stat here that in 2016 there's a company out there, the Green Book Industry Trends. So they do a grit report, and on this grit report in 2016 they went out and that's where they first found out that over 61% of market researchers were utilizing these insight communities. But on top of that, they talked with actual marketing people, and 86% of those marketers believed that these branded communities were actually helping the experience and the customer journey. And again, all of that engagement with that customer journey is now allowing them to get business operation insights. So it then becomes this full circle. And again, I think I segued from your original comment, but in this new decade, now that technology has really come to the point that you can utilize it so effectively with communication, and look what we're doing today, right? These insight communities are, I'll give you another stat, DeWalt, right? Huge power tool company.
Yeah.
They built their own insight community, and last year they released stats that they saved over $6 million in market research by utilizing an insight community.
Oh my
gosh. That's obviously a big thing, but you can find stat after stat of these companies that have turned to insight communities that are just saving a fortune. I mean, think of the cost of a focus group, right? Maybe $15,000 for a couple hours, right? But with these insight communities, you have customers that are engaged. They're always there. You can turn to them whenever you need to. You have to keep them engaged, and you can market with, reward them with coupons so that they go out and spread the word. You can utilize them for brand ambassador recruitment. So there's, the insight community is what you make of it. And with the tools there, it can really take the place of a lot of very expensive operations and give you better insights.
So you can get better information, save money, save time, because then you're not having to hire to vet different companies, find the right focus group, get it set up, get everything taken care of. And it gives you the option for brand ambassadors and to use those people as influencers as well. Amazing.
Which are huge in cannabis. Finding some good brand ambassadors to go out there and really promote your brand with the community, it's huge.
So if I let's go back to my vape pre-roll company, right? So if I have a company, who typically is the people in the company who are working on keeping these people engaged and keeping, making sure that they're doing the brand ambassador and paying attention to them?
That's where you need to dedicate a community manager.
Okay.
In your company. Now, there are several professionals out there that have now become, I'm a professional community manager that can be hired in, but a lot of cannabis companies are small and startups just like us, and it can be difficult to devote that time. But there's a lot of return and reward for investing as well, because you're going to be saving yourself money and time with making poor decisions because you've got that focus group right there for you. But again, we offer services. If there's a company that doesn't have that dedicated person that they can utilize, we'll work with them and we'll find a way to get it done.
I would think it would also be somewhat similar to the marketing social media person as well. So if you have somebody who's doing social media and managing social media content, as long as they were able to handle the different types of questions and get, know what the goal of the outcome is of what you're trying to do with the community. Fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
And some companies utilize, like, let's take Lego as an example again. That is an ongoing, no plan on closing type of insight community. But more on the research side, you may just want to have an insight community for a couple months, and that again is a way, you're not spending all that money to build this thing. You're just going to rent this insight community for a couple months and get that data.
So if you're looking to launch a new product or figure out your locations or whatever it is for your company, brand packaging, whatever it is, you can just basically like parachute in, get the help you need, and then and then leave, or you could leave it and build. So if you're a larger brand, you could technically keep it ongoing and create that loyal group.
Or even think of dispensaries. They are obviously in almost every company now. If you've sold something or you have a business, brick and mortar, you're going to have a list of emails for your customers. And if you can invite them in, it becomes a whole new way to engage, even like a dispensary locally. You could have that constant communication with your patients or your customers coming to your dispensary and, saying, hey, what flavors are working? Which one should we get next? All that. You could run contests at who's rolled the biggest joint. You could do all kinds of things. So absolutely.
So is it an app typically then, or is it a website? How does that communication and platform happen?
Well, we're certainly responsive, so it can be used on a mobile. As a community manager, the dashboard and all that will be available on mobile. I would say is probably sitting at a desk and really engaging with that community and running your community. But absolutely, it's a responsive website where it can be utilized on a mobile as well.
Okay.
But not an app. It's still a website, web platform.
It's also not an app because aren't there problems with the app stores and cannabis companies? Just to be clear, for those of you watching, there's more There's more hurdles than just the financing and advertising. I love this. I'm so excited about the information and insights that companies could gain just by pulling these communities together and leveraging the social aspect of them. So one of the last things we were going to talk about, and I think it's been intertwined with everything we've discussed, but I wanted to give you a chance to talk about it specifically, is how to utilize your customer base for more than just simply revenue. And we've talked a lot about it, but I didn't know if you had any other tips or things.
Just to highlight, business tends to look at a customer as this is a set amount of revenue, and we want to keep that revenue coming in. So let's make them loyal. Let's go out and get, punch cards. So when they come in, they'll return to us, But there's so much more that can be gained by utilizing a platform like this. In everything that we've talked about, you can get those quick insights to make good business decisions. You can utilize it to really build that loyalty of the brand. And, I've been preaching this for 2 years that cannabis is absolutely a branding game right now. And now there's been a major reset, but prior to COVID, there were just hundreds of edible companies. Well, who's going to survive, when things go full legal? Those that have really put the effort into building that brand and building that brand loyalty. And, that can be difficult because maybe you're only located in one state and you'd like to expand, but you haven't really reached into other states yet. Well, again, this can be utilized to really get footholds in new states. Like our MVP right now, we have members that span across 34 states. We've got half consumers and half professionals for the most part, but immediately you've got 34 states covered by cannabis consumers that you can reach out and contact and find out what's the environment in the state. I've never been there. I know medical's coming soon. I want to get in there. Being able to talk to people on the ground is a huge benefit.
Absolutely. Now, can you tell everyone what MVP is?
Yes, sorry. That is our most valuable product. So basically, you break down everything that we're developing, and we picked out something that we think is just a good place to start. We put that up just to prove initial traction and get things rolling. And now that survey platform will actually be one of the tools brought into the larger platform that we're developing.
Ooh, platforms upon platforms upon platforms.
And we pay people to take surveys, so it's a good thing to go check out.
Nice. And when is Do you have an estimated, I know it's tricky with technology, but do you have an estimated launch date for the community platform?
We're looking early fall to launch our new dashboard, and all of these tools that we're developing for inside the Insight community platform, we're also going to have available as one-off. So if you just wanted to come up and run a quick A/B test with the community on Leaf Traders, you'll be able to do that without having to get a full Insight community. Or if you just wanted to do a quick member poll or a survey, you can utilize the platform for that. So that's where we're going to start. Those tools should be up and running early fall. And then straight after that is when we'll actually start constructing that shell of the Insight community.
Love it. I just, especially, you were talking about the brand longevity and what's going to work. And I feel the same for when I look at hemp CBD as well, right? So it's not just the cannabis brands, it's the hemp CBD brands. Like that's the thing that I'm preaching the most right now, is that it's critical for people to have a strong brand story. So they need a strong story about their brand, and they need strong branding in order to continue and honestly last, because there's so much competition.
And there's a lot of immaturity in the branding, so they've got a long way to go. But it's the strong brands, the people that really think about how to build these brands. They'll be the survivors for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, I love it. Your information has been so amazing. Like I said, I have no idea how. Like I kind of knew on the periphery, but I don't dive deep into market research.
That's a lot of what I get. It's and it's probably because it was mainly a market research tool in the past. It's just now you can do so much more with them.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Okay, I'm like clapping. I know you can't see me. I'm like, yay, yay, data and information. Okay, before we wrap up, I want to go into a speed round. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay, it's not tough, I promise. So the very first question is, what are your favorite cannabis products or brands?
So I'm old school. I like the dried flower in a bowl or a joint, and I have a favorite flower, which is Tutankhamun by Pyramid Seeds. No. It's amazing, very creative, lets you work through your day. I'm not a big like stoner, I can't move, couch lock. Mm-hmm. I like happy, creative, and let's get some work done.
Nice.
So old school. I'm just a dry flower guy.
Love it. There's quite a few people have been on that are dry flower.
Good.
Yeah. No, you're not alone. Absolutely. Actually, I probably need to start changing the question, because it's something that comes up a lot every time. Like, so then my next question is, are there any brands that really stand out to you that are doing a good job in terms of that you admire or keep an eye on?
There's a ton of them.
Top few.
I love what Roy Bingham's been doing with, they just changed BDS Analytics, now BDSA. He's an expert at what he does. He's gone out and he's created a really great company that is providing a ton of data. New Frontier Data, I love their cannabis they send out. Always looking for those. As far as like products, Santa Packaging, one of my big passions are all of these products that can be made from the hemp stalk. And so Santa Packaging is actually producing hemp packaging for the cannabis industry.
Nice.
So they really are doing good things there. I think they're even getting into collecting ocean plastic and making new packaging from it. And so they're doing all kinds of cool things, really like them. But yeah, there's a million companies out there that are doing it right. As far as, when I look at companies that are producing new cannabis type products, I think anybody that isn't now looking at Cannabis 2.0, where you're marketing towards the effects rather than my product is this awesome flower, but now you're saying, okay, this is my product for energy, this is my product to be creative, this is my product for sleep. I think any company that hasn't got onto that bandwagon now is late to the show. I think it's very important. So any brand that I'm out there talking with that is already engaged with that, I'm always giving them kudos. But there's several out there now that are going that direction, and I think that's where they have to go. think, your typical consumer probably isn't going to sit there and learn all the different aspects of cannabis like we do, because we're so passionate about it, and they need that simple, this is how I want to feel. Awesome. That's going to make me feel that way.
Oh, yeah. Plus, it makes it easier to recommend stuff to people, right? If someone's asking, which
yeah.
of course they do, what should I take? It gives you a lot more leeway to say, here's the 5 things that, here's the 3 things that we have that you could use.
Newsflash, sativa and indica don't really exist anymore. We got just a million hybrids out there. So,
oh my gosh, I know.
Need to focus on those effects for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's also a common question. Is this indica? Is this sativa? What kind of hybrid? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, it's 30%, 33.5%.
Right.
It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Okay, so my last question. Oh, I have 2 more questions for you. One more. What is there any resources or media, podcasts, blogs, anything that you recommend people keep an eye on, or that you personally find helpful?
Cannabis Marketing Live is a phenomenal one. You should all catch Cannabis Marketing Live.
Thank you.
Of course. There is a podcast I do not miss. I absolutely love it. It's Canna Insider with Matthew Kind. Awesome podcast. So that is the primary. There's some other ones. There's like Blunt Business and some grow ones that I listen to occasionally. But I love Canna Insider.
It's really good.
Yeah. And then, New Frontier Data, I love the 5 things they send out on that email. I get all their emails. They're a great company. So, yeah. But Canna Insider every, Wednesday, I think. And he's always got, killer, innovative people on there.
Nice.
Awesome show.
Nice.
Yeah.
Love it. Okay, one last question for you. How can people reach you if they want to learn more?
Well, for starters, leaftraders.com. That is where you can come up, and actually all accounts are free, whether you're a consumer or professional, and you will be obviously wrapped into the new launch of the new dashboard that will be launching here in a few months. But everything's free right now. The surveys, if you want to take surveys, you're going to get earn compensation for taking the surveys, and then you can post surveys just based on the responses you want to get. If you wanted 5 responses, $25, you can post a survey to the built-in audience. So great place to look. And then just to quickly mention, for any business contacts, you can reach me directly at brad@leaftraders.com. And Leaf Traders is with an S.com, so leaftraders.com. And just to mention, we are going to be starting our seed round this summer. So if anybody's interested in, getting involved with our team or seeing our pitch deck or any of that good information, you can contact me directly for that as well.
Awesome. Thank you. I love this. I love I love insights and data. It makes all of our lives easier. I'm like, what can we do with this?
Thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome to talk to you.
Absolutely, Brad. Thank you. And you guys, just one more thing. I was recently on a broadcast for a boot camp called Leap Into Live to help people learn how to live stream. And for that broadcast, I actually created a playbook for marketing and regulated industries. If you guys are interested, it's motomarketing.com/playbook. All right. Enjoy. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for being here, Brad. Appreciate it. Till next time.
Thank you.